6.5 miles from where the 10-year-old girl disappeared, investigators found a heavy bag. Inside was only part of a human body. Lying nearby was a small wooden cross. That cross became the first real clue in the case. The search for the missing child turned into a hunt for a killer. But when investigators finally picked up his trail, they made a mistake that could have left him free forever. How did one chance discovery help expose one of America's most dangerous young killers? And what really happened to Jessica Ridgway? This is a story that's impossible to forget. Friends, let me interrupt for just a moment. I'm really curious where my audience is watching from, so I'd love for you to tell me what city you're watching this video from and what time it is there. Thanks for taking a moment, leave it in the comments, and I'll continue. Today, we're in the suburb of Westminster, Colorado. This is where 10-year-old Jessica Ridgway lived with her mother, grandmother, and aunt. She was a 5th grade student at Witt Elementary School. Her parents had divorced years earlier, and her father lived in Missouri. Even so, Jessica maintained a close relationship with both of them. Her teachers remembered her as a kind, cheerful, and incredibly hardworking girl. She made friends easily, loved learning, adored animals, came up with her own dances and songs, and dreamed of becoming a cheerleader. On the morning of October 5th, 2012, Jessica woke up, ate breakfast, got ready for school, and left home at around 8 o'clock. She was supposed to meet her friends at Chelsea Park, where they gathered every morning before walking to school together. But that morning, Jessica never showed up. Not wanting to be late, her friends headed to school without her. Jessica almost never missed class, so when she didn't arrive at school, her teachers called her mother Sarah. But after working the night shift, Sarah was asleep and didn't hear the call. It wasn't until around 4:30 in the afternoon that she listened to the voicemail and immediately began searching for her daughter. She drove to the park, the school, and her friends' homes, but Jessica was nowhere to be found. That's when Sarah contacted the Westminster police.
My daughter's missing. I guess she never made it to school this morning.
How old's your daughter?
She's 10.
Okay, what's your daughter's name?
Jessica Ridgway.
And then you get that awful knot in your stomach that no parent should ever have to experience. And you realize your child has been abducted, she said. By 9:15 that evening, investigators concluded they had gathered enough information to believe Jessica had been abducted. The Colorado Bureau of Investigation then issued an Amber Alert.
I want to show you this little girl's picture, Jessica Ridgway. She never made it to school, and right away, the school called the little girl's mother. The mom works nights, so she didn't get the message until much later in the day, and that's what's bringing us to where we are right now. A massive search taking place. Right now, police, along with the CBI, have issued an Amber Alert, and the reason is this. It's because of the amount of time that has passed since she was last seen.
At least 50 police officers, including the FBI, are searching right now.
When we start with an 8-hour delay or a delay as substantial as this, the distance that she could have wandered, even on her own, just gets huge.
Police say Jessica's father, who lives out of state, is in a custody battle with Jessica's mother. They do not believe Jessica is with him, but are not ruling anyone out.
We don't have a person of interest, and we're going to look at every angle.
Nothing like this has really ever happened. Like, it's always surprising when something happens here.
So as you can hear from that interview, this is a very serious situation. Normally, Jessica meets some friends at a park, which is just about 3 blocks from her home. Then the entire group walks to Witt Elementary. The girls that she usually walks with have been interviewed. They did not see her today, but at such a young age, as of 10 years old, they just did not think much of it. Again, we do want to show the picture of Jessica Ridgway, 10 years old, 4'10" in height with shoulder blonde hair. She has blue eyes. She is wearing a winter jacket, I'm told, a black puffy jacket, but with weather like this, it's still of concern. Again, search is taking place across Westminster. In fact, if you are concerned, you would like to help, you can come here to the Westview Recreation Center. We're at the intersection of 108th and Oak, again, in Westminster. Teresa.
But night had already fallen, and the bitter cold made it an even longer ordeal. Firefighters used thermal imaging equipment to search the area in the darkness and set up powerful floodlights to illuminate Chelsea Park. Police wanted to deploy a helicopter equipped with night vision, but the extreme cold made takeoff impossible because the rotor blades were at risk of icing over.
We're using every resource we have. We're trying to use air or helicopters that have equipment that can search in the dark. Unfortunately, the weather has grounded those, so we're not able to use that tool. We've brought our fire department in who has equipment that sees in the dark, thermal imaging equipment, so they're out searching with that. Over 400 faculty and every parent that has a student attending Witt Elementary has received the notification that Jessica is missing.
When the sun comes up, police say they will be bringing in even more people to help search for Jessica. They're also hoping for a break in the weather so they can get helicopters up to search from the sky.
At around 2 o'clock in the morning, law enforcement asked the volunteers to head home and return later that morning. The Westminster Police established a command center and appealed to the public for help with the search. There was no shortage of people willing to join the effort. Officers searched homes, backyards, and large open areas, including creek banks and wooded sections. They interviewed a tremendous number of people and collected around 700 DNA samples. Law enforcement officers were stationed at crosswalks, and every vehicle entering or leaving the neighborhood was photographed. Most mailboxes and trees were decorated with ribbons in Jessica's favorite color, purple. On Jessica's desk, investigators found a notebook with her homework. On one of the pages, she had written, "Don't go to the park alone and beware of strangers." She was a very cautious child and was always alert to potential danger. Investigators believed that either someone she knew and trusted had lured her away, or she had been taken by surprise before she had any chance to escape. The idea that Jessica had willingly approached a stranger or started a conversation with one seemed highly unlikely. Before long, police needed additional resources, and the FBI, along with 12 other agencies, joined the investigation. Soon, more than 1,000 people were working through over 4,000 tips and leads. 4 days after Jessica disappeared, her family left the house for the first time to speak with the media. Until then, they simply couldn't bring themselves to step outside, although they had fully cooperated with investigators the entire time and had provided DNA samples.
And Mike, the FBI Mobile Evidence Response Team unit, they were inside this home much of the afternoon for about 2 hours. They've since left, but they first arrived not even 10 minutes after the Ridgway family left the home. This FBI Evidence Response Team on standby, soon putting on gloves, covering their shoes, then walking in the front door, inside, outside, looking for any sign of Jessica.
And this is the first time we are hearing from Jessica's mother and father. Both deny any involvement in her disappearance. Both are holding out hope.
She's my rock. She's all of our rock.
A mother.
The bright voice of my little girl. She needs to come home.
And a father.
I try to stay positive about it, but yeah, it's hard. I just want to find my daughter.
I watch her walk out the door and I shut the door, and that's the last time I saw her, and I want to come walking back through that door.
After searches by ground and by air, still no sign of the 10-year-old. And the reality of all of this is now very real.
That is not ever anything I want any parent to go through.
Police ruled Jessica's parents out as suspects in her disappearance. By that point, investigators were already convinced that she had been abducted by someone outside the family. The following day, a man about 6.5 miles from where Jessica disappeared in the Superior area found what he didn't yet realize belonged to her. It was her backpack, her glasses, her water bottle, and several pieces of clothing that smelled of urine. Attached to the backpack was a keychain with the name Jessica, but the man didn't connect what he had found to the search taking place 6.5 miles away. Instead, he posted a message on the Westminster Townless server. "If this belongs to you, come pick it up." Fortunately, someone saw the post, realized the items might be connected to Jessica's disappearance, and called 911. Sarah later admitted that in that moment she felt a glimmer of hope. She believed her only daughter would be found alive and unharmed.
Over the weekend, a glimpse of optimism for the family when Jessica's backpack and water bottle were found in another subdivision 6 miles away.
I felt a sliver of hope. I figured, if something really bad happened to her, they wouldn't have got rid of the backpack just sitting there.
But that hope faded almost immediately when another discovery was made the very next day. This one was far more horrifying and final. Late Wednesday evening, police announced that a body had been found near a park in the Denver suburb of Arvada. At that point, Law enforcement had not officially confirmed that the victim was 10-year-old Jessica Ridgway. However, according to multiple police sources cited by ABC News, investigators were convinced the remains belonged to her. About 6.5 miles from Jessica's home, public works employees noticed a heavy bag on the side of the road. Rather than opening it, they immediately called a police officer, who arrived with a canine unit. Inside, investigators found only a small portion of a human body. Forensic testing confirmed that the remains belonged to Jessica. However, not all parts of her body had been recovered, and the cause of death had not yet been determined. Police also reported that a wooden cross was found at the recovery site, but they did not publicly disclose exactly where it was in relation to the remains. Some sources claimed the cross had been placed inside the bag with the remains. Others reported that it was lying nearby. Either way, investigators described the cross as a key piece of physical evidence. Westminster Police Chief Lee Burke said, "Our primary mission has changed. We are no longer searching for Jessica. Our mission now is to bring justice for Jessica. We know there is a dangerous predator in our community.
We pray for the Ridgway family that you would comfort them."
Prayer, candlelight, and song Saturday night to remember a life taken far too soon.
It amazes me that people can be that sick in this world.
Hundreds took part in the vigil for Jessica Ridgway in Westminster, Heather Fong and her family among them after her son said he wanted to light a candle for Jessica.
I feel like it kind of takes their childhood away because you teach them the world is a really good place, but then you have to train them now that you can't talk to strangers.
As the community mourns the loss of Jessica, police are stepping up efforts to find her killer. Saturday, investigators continue trying to develop leads. They've been going over sex offender lists and have even been reviewing data from cell phone towers around key locations in the case, hoping if a number registered at all of them, it could help lead to a suspect.
I don't know if you can make sense of it. You know, we just need justice for Jessica, though. And so all the kids are safe in the neighborhood.
Investigators connected the case to another attack that had taken place 4 months earlier, on Memorial Day. A woman who had gone out for a run near Kettner Lake was assaulted. An unknown man came up behind her and pressed a cloth soaked with chloroform over her face. He dragged the woman into the bushes, but she managed to break free and escape. The only description she could provide was that her attacker was a white male. Based on her own height, she estimated that he stood between 5 feet 6 inches and 5 feet 8 inches tall and had a medium build. The attack happened just steps away from the location where Jessica was believed to have been abducted. DNA recovered from the woman's body after that attack matched DNA found on Jessica's body. Investigators concluded that the same attacker was responsible for both crimes. FBI spokesperson Dave Jolie urged all residents to remain extremely vigilant. Law enforcement then released a psychological profile of the suspect.
They began this half hour with the Colorado community on edge as police search for 10-year-old Jessica Ridgway's killer.
In Jessica Ridgway's community of Westminster, Colorado this morning, there is sadness, anger, and fear.
This is horrible. This is absolutely horrible.
That a killer is on the loose.
I want to stress that we recognize that there is a predator at large in our community.
With state, local, and federal agents working Jessica's murder, police have scoured her neighborhood and the community for clues. More than 1,500 tips have poured in, 500 homes searched, a manhunt underway for a killer still on the street. Former FBI profiler Clint Van Zandt.
This is a whole nother type of predator. Number one, to commit a horrible act to kidnap a child, but number two, to dispose of a body this way puts this guy in a breed almost by himself.
We haven't identified an individual, so we're talking and conveying to our community the importance of looking at behavioral changes. Unfortunately, it's somebody's family member, a neighbor, a friend.
Dozens of worried residents came to Tom Ulbrich Saturday for crisis counseling.
Our behavioral analysis unit wants to convey a message to the community and to the public as a whole. They're looking for abnormal behavior, changes in someone's behavior from Jessica's disappearance last Friday until today. It could be something as simple as shaving of their face, could be changing of hair color, cutting of their hair, change in their mood, their personality, parking a vehicle in their garage, and they've always parked it in their driveway. So we suspect that someone in the community knows this individual, and we're asking for the community support once again. The community has been very supportive in the efforts so far to this investigation, and we're asking that they would do this one more time to help us gather new leads and new information to bring this to a conclusion.
More than 3,000 people gathered at a memorial service in Arvada to honor Jessica Ridgway's memory and celebrate her life. During the ceremony, her favorite songs were played, and videos of Jessica were shown on a large screen. The entire crowd was awash in purple, Jessica's favorite color. Police officers, volunteers, people who had known Jessica personally, and others who had only learned about her after the tragic case gained national attention were all there. It seemed as though everyone had come that day.
Unfortunately, never had the privilege of knowing your wonderful daughter. But I can honestly tell you, we feel like we did. We feel like she's part of our family, and we feel like we've lost part of our family.
After detectives released a photograph of the wooden cross, one of the neighbors recognized it. She lived near the Sig family and contacted the FBI to report her suspicions about 17-year-old Austin Sig, who lived with his mother, Mindy. According to her, he wore a cross, just like the one in the photograph. She also told investigators that Austin had an unhealthy fascination with death and with decomposing human and animal bodies. Austin was then asked to come in for an interview where he provided FBI agents with a DNA sample. He claimed that at the time Jessica disappeared, he had been home asleep. Investigators noticed that he was wearing a very similar wooden cross. But after speaking with him, they appeared satisfied with his answers, collected the DNA sample, and continued canvassing the neighborhood. At the time, law enforcement was collecting and processing an enormous number of swabs and other biological samples. Under the standard procedure, everyone who submitted a DNA sample later received back the envelope bearing their name. If the envelope was empty, it meant that person's DNA did not match the evidence recovered in Jessica's case. Austin's envelope also came back empty, so investigators removed him from their list of suspects and continued the investigation. But on October 22nd, news outlets began reporting that the DNA recovered in Jessica's case matched the DNA collected after the attack on the woman who had been out jogging several months earlier. That same day, Austin told his classmates that he felt extremely weak and terribly sick. That night, he even slept in his mother's bed beside her. The following morning, Austin told Mindy that he had something he needed to tell her. I immediately asked if it was about Jessica. I just knew. I can't explain why, but I just knew, Mindy later recalled. When Austin confirmed her worst fears, she collapsed onto the floor and burst into tears. It was horrifying, total disbelief. The only thought going through my mind was, this can't be happening. This just can't be happening. I'm going to prison, Austin said. I know, Mindy replied. You need to call the police. Can you do it for me? He asked. Mindy picked up the phone and dialed 911. The full recording of that call lasts nearly 18 minutes, so only an abbreviated version is included here.
Hi, this is Molly at Westminster Police. Can I help you? Hi, I need you to come to my house. My son wants to turn himself in for the Jessica Ridgway murder.
Can you tell me exactly what he said?
That he did it, and he gave me details, and her remains are in my house.
Did you see them?
No.
Is he there with you?
Yes.
Is he cooperative?
Yes.
What is your son's name?
Austin Sig.
Okay, I understand that you're probably, feeling pretty crappy right now, but I want you to know that you did the right thing.
He did it. He just wanted me to call. He is turning himself in.
Okay, do you think that he's going to be cooperative with the officers?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you think that Austin would talk to me?
Will you talk to us? Yeah, hold on.
Okay.
Hello?
Is this Austin?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Austin. This is Molly at the Westminster Police Department.
Hi.
Can you tell me a little bit about what's going on right now, or how you're feeling, or how did this come about?
I don't exactly get why you're asking these questions. I murdered Jessica Ridgway.
Okay.
I have proof that I did it. There is no other question. You just have to send
squad car, something down here, and I will answer all the questions that you want to ask, or anyone wants to ask of me as soon as you gotta get down here. Okay. Have you committed any crimes like this before? Do you have a criminal history of any sort? The only other thing that I have done that before this was the Kettner Lake incident where the woman got attacked. That was me. Ma'am, I understand you want to call your husband, and I'm sorry, but I would like to keep you guys on the phone just until the officers get a little bit closer. Well, how far are they? They're going to be there in just a few minutes. Is Austin still there with you? Yeah, I won't let him out of my sight. Okay. Has Austin been diagnosed with any mental health issues? Does he see a counselor or take any medications? He saw a counselor years ago for porn. Okay. I can't breathe. Take some deep breaths for me. Do you want me to start you an ambulance? No. Are you sure? I'm sure. Okay, what just happened? I opened the window. What's that? I just opened the window. Okay. I need air. Okay. Mindy, take a couple deep breaths for me, okay? You tell me when the officers get there. They're coming to your front door. Okay? I don't see him. I don't see him yet. You don't see them? No. Is Austin okay with you right now? Yeah, he's just getting really anxious, and so am I. Okay. They're here. They're coming up. They're coming up to the door? Yeah. Okay. Do you see the plainclothes officers and their badges? Yeah, they're here. Okay, I'll let you go speak with them, okay? Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, bye. Goodbye.
19 days after Jessica Ridgway disappeared, Austin Sigg was sitting inside a police station. He confessed that he was the one who had attacked the woman out jogging and had tried to abduct her using chloroform that he had made himself. But the fact that she managed to escape didn't stop him. If anything, it had the opposite effect. According to Austin, after the failed attempt, he simply reconsidered his next move. He decided that his next victim should be someone smaller, someone he could easily overpower physically. When investigators asked what he would have done if the attack on the woman had been successful, Austin replied, "I probably would have done the same thing to her that I did to Jessica."
So you were out, for a better word, hunting?
Yeah, that's the only word I can think of.
And did you know Jessica?
No.
Had you ever seen her before?
No.
In the final moments of her life, Jessica was playing in the park, making snowballs, while Austin watched her. He had parked his Jeep where no one would notice it and kept an eye on Jessica as she walked along holding a snowball in her hands. He waited until she reached the point where she had to cross the street, then ducked down in the back seat so she wouldn't see him. As Jessica walked past the Jeep, he suddenly jumped out, grabbed her, and forced her inside. Jessica screamed, but there was no one nearby. He bound her hands and feet with plastic zip ties. Austin later said, "Random place, random time, everything about it was random. I think the very second I pulled her into the vehicle, I already knew she was going to die." Jessica asked who he was and whether he knew her mother. Austin recalled, "She kept asking me questions. I answered her and lied to her. I told her everything was going to be okay." He drove Jessica to his house, and what happened there is known for certain only to him. According to Austin, he took Jessica into his room, cut the plastic zip ties from her wrists, and turned on cartoons for her. He kept telling her over and over that she would be going home to her mom soon. Jessica urinated on herself, so he made her change clothes, giving her one of his white t-shirts and a pair of black shorts. Investigators also determined that he cut her hair. After that, he ordered Jessica to turn around and face away from him. He then strangled her to death. Austin admitted that he was driven by sexual arousal at the time of the abduction, but insisted that he did not sexually assault Jessica. He also admitted that he dismembered her body in the bathroom, placed her torso into 2 bags, hid them for a time in a pool storage building, and later transported and disposed of them. Austin said that he removed and identified each of her internal organs. According to him, he learned dismemberment techniques during his forensic science classes. He explained it this way: the successful serial killers were the ones who could always make the body disappear. Investigators described the way Austin handled Jessica's body as exceptionally brutal, even by the standards of cases like this. The 17-year-old personally showed law enforcement where to find the rest of her body. They were hidden in a crawl space beneath his house. All of those remains were recovered. Austin also admitted that he had tried to flush parts of the body down the toilet, but it didn't work. Investigators later found human tissue in the home's sewer system, confirming that part of his attempt to cover up the crime involved flushing the remains down the toilet. Jessica was already dead before police had even begun searching for her. Several hours into the interrogation, investigators discovered that Austin's DNA sample had actually been lost and was never tested. The empty envelope with his name on it that had been returned earlier turned out to be nothing more than a mistake. Law enforcement immediately ordered a new analysis. The results were conclusive. Austin's DNA was a complete match to the samples recovered after the attack on the woman who had been out jogging, as well as the evidence in Jessica's case. After the Jeep Austin used to abduct Jessica was impounded and examined, investigators found fragments of broken plastic zip ties inside. Then First Assistant District Attorney Hal Sargent said that, in his opinion, Austin deliberately scattered Jessica's personal belongings so everyone would know she was dead. The glasses tell you she's dead. There's a reason he left the items that smelled like urine, her jacket, her socks, and the other clothing. He chose those items very carefully. Austin had long been obsessed with death and dreamed of working in the funeral industry. He was attending a local college where he was taking mortuary science courses. During questioning, he admitted that he had become addicted to viewing child sexual abuse material at the age of 12. According to Austin, he was deeply sexually deviant and inclined towards sadism, and spent his time online watching all kinds of violent, graphic, and disturbing material. Austin's parents had divorced many years earlier, but they continued working together to try to help their son. In 2008, they sought help from a counselor who practiced a Christian-based approach. However, according to Austin himself, his obsession only grew stronger, and the counseling had no effect. Everything kept getting worse. The content I watched became more and more violent. It happened so gradually, step by step, that I didn't even realize how far I'd gone. It completely took over my life and just kept growing. After I stopped seeing my Christian therapist, or psychiatrist, whatever you want to call him, I thought I'd gotten myself under control for a little while. But it lasted less than a month, and then I went right back to all of it. In 2009, Austin's doctors contacted his father, Robert, and strongly advised him to restrict his son's access to television and computers.
All right, well, police in suburban Denver are still removing evidence from the home of a teenage college student in custody for the kidnapping and murder of 10-year-old Jessica Ridgway.
Austin Sigg was prosecuted as an adult on 17 criminal charges, including 4 counts of murder and 2 counts of kidnapping. Despite his insistence that he had not sexually assaulted Jessica, the volume of child sexual abuse material he had viewed, along with his history of sadistic behavior, pointed to a very different picture. Prosecutors filed 3 additional charges against him. Austin was also charged with sexual assault on a child, robbery, and sexual exploitation of a child after child sexual abuse material was discovered on his devices. In the case involving the attack on the woman who had gone out for a jog, he was also charged with attempted first-degree murder, attempted kidnapping, and attempted sexual assault.
Our new courtroom sketches of Austin Sigg, the teenager pleading not guilty to killing 10-year-old Jessica Ridgway, even though he admitted it.
Well, this could very well be a placeholder plea. Even though Austin Sigg pled not guilty on all counts, he has the option to modify that later, including guilty and not guilty by reason of insanity.
His father, Robert, said, "There are no words that can express the pain my family and I feel over the suffering this family has endured. We are devastated by the news that my son, Austin Sigg, has been arrested. This horrific event has been a tragedy for both families as well as for the entire community. I also ask for your prayers and support for Austin's mother, whose courageous act, one that would be unimaginably painful for any parent, helped bring this tragedy closer to being solved." Mindy, who was the one who reported her own son to the police, later said she was overwhelmed by a terrible sense of guilt. "Not because I had anything to do with it, but because I was the one who brought this child into the world." Sarah, Jessica's mother, said, "She did nothing that could have led to this. I don't believe the way she raised him had anything to do with what he did." Mindy said that Austin had been an exceptionally sweet baby and later grew into a smart and kind child. For her, it was simply impossible to comprehend that he had become the person he was now. Nothing else mattered to me. I didn't know what music was popular. I didn't know what TV shows were popular. He was everything I could have ever dreamed of. A classmate who had known Austin since middle school said there was always something different about him. He was one of those students who was incredibly smart but always kept to himself. He talked to himself and acted very awkwardly around other people. Despite being highly intelligent, Austin eventually began falling behind in school, and Mindy learned that he had been bullied because of his voice. Before long, he dropped out of high school and earned his general education diploma. As the years passed, more and more people began to fear him. One neighbor, named Emily, said that her 11-year-old daughter came to her as soon as she heard about Jessica's abduction. She said she immediately knew who had done it.
I feel bad that I dismissed it.
When Emily Alexander's 11-year-old daughter said she knew who kidnapped Jessica, no one believed her.
She goes, "Mom, oh my God, I know who did it." And I go, "Who?" And she goes, "The goth teenager from the park."
At this park just down the road, she says a teenage boy had been acting strangely, staring at her daughter, walking by their home.
And she pointed him out right across the street from our house.
Emily Alexander says her daughter's friends may have been what saved her.
If she had been at the park alone, there's no telling, what could have happened. I should have let her know that the moment she feels uncomfortable, that she should trust that, and that, it's better to be safe than sorry.
Austin pleaded not guilty to every charge in both Jessica's case and the case involving the attack on the woman who had gone out jogging. Given his detailed confession and the fact that Jessica's remains had been found at his home, the plea came as a genuine shock. For many people, the thought of a trial in which all of the horrific details would be revealed was almost unbearable. Because he was 17 years old at the time of the murder, he was not eligible for the death penalty. However, if convicted, he faced life in prison with the possibility of applying for parole after serving no fewer than 40 years. His attorney argued that Austin's actions had been impulsive and that he himself was trying to understand why he had done what he did. The defense also claimed that during pregnancy, his mother had inhaled paint fumes and fallen down a flight of stairs, and that Austin had suffered a head injury at birth due to the use of vacuum extraction during delivery. The defense further argued that he had suffered from serious intestinal problems and had undergone 3 surgeries. They also stated that Austin grew up in a family affected by divorce and had been surrounded from childhood by ongoing legal troubles. His father, Robert Sigg, had a lengthy arrest record that included mortgage fraud, driving under the influence, assault, domestic violence, and drug trafficking.
The court would be presumptuous and speculative to assume at this early age, because of an act by a child, that child would never be appropriate for parole.
However, psychologist Anna Salter, who reviewed the police case files, said she found no evidence that Austin had been abused as a child. She also noted that, despite his parents' divorce, his home life appeared to have been stable and that he had the support of his family. He had absolutely no empathy for Jessica Ridgway. This was not an impulsive act that he later deeply regretted, she said. Prosecutors argued that his actions showed careful planning. He had searched for instructions on how to make homemade chloroform and entered the search query, 10 most common places where people are abducted. That was only a small part of the violent material he had viewed and admitted to watching.
Did not set forth an amendment that says when a young man kidnaps, robs, sexually assaults, and murders and dismembers a 10-year-old girl, that everything other than the murder should be excused.
What we do know is that this young man is dangerous. The only way to protect the community from him is to keep him confined forever. They have never seen an offense like this committed by someone under 18, ever. Not in this county, not in this state, not in this country.
Austin was held in a special segregated unit at the Jefferson County Detention Center, separate from the adult inmate population. Almost exactly 1 year after Jessica had left for school, and 2 days before his trial was set to begin, Austin pleaded guilty to 15 charges, including first-degree murder, sexual assault of a child, kidnapping, attempted kidnapping, and sexual exploitation of a child.
Justice for Jessica delivered today. It's been just over a year since 10-year-old Jessica Ridgway disappeared. Well, today, her teenage killer, Austin Sigg, learning he will spend the rest of his life behind bars.
He got life in prison for the murder charge, plus 86 consecutive years on top of that for the kidnapping, sexual assault, and robbery charges. One of Sigg's attorneys mouths, "Are you okay?" Sigg replies, "Yeah, I'm fine." He was expressionless most of the day.
It was truly a reflection of pure evil, and Austin Sigg deserves everything he got.
For Jessica's murder, Austin was sentenced to 40 years in prison. However, the judge also imposed an additional 86 years for the other crimes he committed. Although he was technically eligible for parole because he had been a juvenile at the time of the murder, the additional sentence eliminated any realistic possibility of release, effectively ensuring that he would spend the rest of his life behind bars. District Attorney Peter Weir said, "There was no plea deal in this case. There were no concessions. We were not going to make any concessions for Austin." The judge agreed, adding, "The circumstances of this case unquestionably warrant a life sentence." Austin chose not to address the court before sentencing and showed no emotion when the sentence was announced.
So, I'm actually not going to say anything today because I don't think that the defendant has the right to hear how he affected me, my family, or who Jessica was. Once we walk out of this courtroom, we'll not remember his name, and we'll all only remember Jessica and the legacy she created, as well as the Lassie project in which she inspired. Thank you. Thank you.
Mindy said she had never once regretted her decision to go to the police and report her own son. She devoted herself entirely to psychotherapy. And although she still thinks about Austin and misses the son she once knew, she said, "I haven't spoken to him since then. I can't." Austin has never tried to contact her either. "One of the reasons I don't communicate with him is because I don't believe I'd hear the truth from him about anything. I can't let him keep lying to me anymore. And I still never got an answer to the question why. That's the answer I need." When Mindy was asked whether she would like to say something to the Ridgway family, she replied, "I would literally give my life to change what happened. I would trade my life for Jessica's. Even now, when I'm doing a little better, I would do it if I could."
And this park has just been transformed here. Everywhere you look, there are hints of Jessica, from the purple that is speckled throughout the park to this dragonfly teeter-totter, which we're told represents a school project she was particularly fond of that she was working on at the time of her disappearance.
The way Jessica's community continues to remember and honor her short life is truly remarkable. It seems like there is always some kind of memorial event taking place. A memorial playground was built in her honor, featuring a 40-foot play track, her classmates' favorite knock-knock jokes displayed throughout the playground, a specially designed ribbon-shaped swing set, and purple accents across the entire park, Jessica's favorite color. The Lassie Project also continued its work. It is a free service that allows parents and guardians to alert their entire local community within seconds when a child goes missing. In addition, the Jessica Ridgway Cheer Camp was established because Jessica's biggest dream was to become a cheerleader when she grew up. She had told her mother that she promised to be the kind of cheerleader who would be kind to everyone. 5 years after losing her daughter, Sarah gave birth to another little girl, Anna.
The reminders of her are everywhere.
Lots of purple.
Her sweet 10-year-old smile.
Her pictures everywhere.
Her favorite color.
We all still wear purple. Purple's everywhere in our house.
I think she makes her presence known.
That's how Sarah Pindell Ridgway and her family remember Jessica.
We still talk about her. She still exists for us.
Yes, it's hard, and it's the hardest thing that anybody could possibly do is to move forward. I need to remember who she was and who I would have hoped she would have become, and know that I need to keep moving forward. She was born October 15th. Anna Christine Pindell Ridgway. Her and her sister share the same middle name, and then
her eyes are blue, different blue than Jessica's, but they're blue.
She loves her hands. They're her favorite thing in the whole wide world.
I think Jessica would be enamored.
She's very much ever present. We talk to Jessica, and I think she kind of turns her head. It looks like she's talking to somebody over in the distance, so I think her sister definitely comes and visits and leaves her little sparkly way around. And
Mom and Grandma say they'll tell Anna all about Jessica's sparkle as soon as she's old enough.
I'm mostly gonna say that, she has a big sister that left before she was born.
They want to raise her without fear.
I'm gonna try not to let what happened overshadow how I raise Anna, because I don't want her to be smothered a little bit. I want her to be able to have her own little life.
She's not replaced, she's just expanded.
She definitely has an extra special angel watching over her.